All right, well today I'm going to talk a little bit about getting this welded into place and yeah, what not to do sometimes. Okay, just a little bit about how to get this into place. Basically, all you're going to do is just use these. You don't have an alternative, really. You can use these clamps. They work great. You can get in here, you can grab it, you can squeeze it. You can screw this down across here. And screws do help, but the clamps, a combination of screws and clamps seems to be the best. And then what you do is on the inside is you will basically come back and, like that hole right there, you just come back, weld that hole up. And then what I'm going to do is I will weld the center one, which is basically behind this, and then I will work my way out to the edges, flattening out, you know, pulling it in as I go, because this has a slight, it's not perfectly flat, but I'll work my way out from the center to get that down, to be welded from the inside. Then I'll come back around to the outside, do it all over again, and weld the sail panel to the quarter. One thing I will say is, I've mentioned this before, is this so far is the thinnest piece of sheet metal I have found on this car, is this sail panel and probably the roof. It is, it's thin. It's really thin, surprisingly thin, compared to other pieces of metal on it originally. The quarter panel was quite a bit. I wish it was as thick as the quarter panel. The original quarter would have been a much beefier roof at that point. Would have made the car a lot more solid too. But yeah, that's all I do. You reach in here and do this. Now, if you have something really deep, I had one of the ones with the deeper ones somewhere, but when you can't find that, basically I've got these, which is just a little stick, piece of oak, drill a hole in the back, and I'll just put those on the ends of these ends of those, and they'll just act as pinchers. So you're thinking, you know, like that. And that gives you a little bit deeper grab without having to buy a bigger clamp. And if you're buying these clamps, do not buy the import versions. These two are import versions. I have the other ones too, but I'm only using these because they have a rounded barrel grip here, which actually works better for this right now. Don't buy these. They're really not any cheaper than the real thing from I guess it's Irwin, Stanley, whatever you want to call it now. But yeah, buy the real thing. They're not that expensive. And the ones that are much deeper, they're like 20 to 25 bucks for one of these, which is not bad for a clamp like that. Okay, well, partway through, I've got a couple of them welded here. And as you can see, like I said earlier, a combination of clamps and screws work. Because when you get to this point, you cannot clamp, because unless you've got some kind of funny clamp that comes in, makes a U-turn, and you know, you just can't clamp over here because there's material on the backside in the way. So you go here, you know, you get these nice and tight, and then you can start sucking them together. And you're not going to get these as tight as you will these. I mean, I've even tried, you know, just bolts, machine bolts, small machine bolts, and bolting it together. But most of the machine bolts are just cheese grade steel, and they tend to strip out real easy. So, you know, it'll be fine. You know, you've got that little dip there. It works out fine. And then I'll do the same thing as I go back here. I'll clamp, weld from the backside, and then move the clamp down, just come all the way around, just work my way down. And you just go all the way back to the back. And yeah, that's kind of just the way it goes. And if you see some little dents that shouldn't be where they should be, that was because Welding Helmet and I were having some disagreements. I made a video about that. I'm not sure if I'm going to put it out here at all or not. It'll be very entertaining, let's put it that way. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And I'll come back when I've welded most of this on and talk about it a little more. All right, well, I've welded everything from the inside that I can at this point. So you can see all the little spots out there. And Yeah, it looks like horse pucky, but it'll do. I need a new feed roller for my welder. It's kind of it's been slipping and kind of having to fight with it. But so the next step is I'm going to actually come in from this little hole here. No, I can't on this one. No. Nope. Well, it is what it is. So what I'll do now is flatten all this stuff out, pull those screws out, and then basically just go over these spots, weld this thing back on, and then call it done. This back here just had a little weld right along the edge. Oh, sorry. That had just a piece on the, like a MIG weld on the edge. I will probably just replicate that again. So I'll be back here shortly, and that should look a little different. All right, well, okay. That's the finished product. And that's as close as you're going to get to see it. I'm not proud of those welds at all over there. They're attached, they're fine, they'll grind out fine, but the feeder wheel, the roller, was way too intermittent, just doing weird things, so I need to get a new one of those. So yeah, that's as close as you're going to get, but it's done. So I'll grind it off and then I'll show it to you again. Okay. Now it's a little more presentable. So yeah, there it is. It's all welded on. It's welded from the back side, a little bit of grinding. But that little bitty, just a little seam weld there. I did kind of hit the black there a little bit. We'll touch that up real quick. There you go. See, never happened. All right. But that's all there is to it. And that's just, you know, that's the other way of doing a quarter panel, where you place the whole thing and have to weld both sides instead of doing the cut all the way across here, which I'm not a fan of doing that cut. I'd rather do it this way and replace the whole panel. If I had a factory quarter that I was trying to graft on here, be a different issue. I would do that cut. But being this is aftermarket, it's just easier to replace it all in one piece. I got a lot of grinding to do on the back side there when I get the rotisserie built. All right, guys, excuse the wind, but I'm just going to show you how I weld the quarter onto the rocker panel down here. Essentially, I went ahead and blasted this, and because I've got this light on here, this makes seeing much better. It's kind of hard to do since I'm just in a weird position, but essentially I'm going to come in a little different angle, and I'll be able to weld that hole up there, and then I'll come down and do this one down here, and then I'll start pulling the rest of the screws and welding the rest of them. You could also just do a seam weld right in here if you really wanted to. I just kind of want to do it this way, but that's how I get down in here and do it. Personally, I would not want to weld this on with the quarter window in here. Yeah, most people tend to leave it in there. I left it out, and the other reason is I'm going to be replacing the glass anyway, so it all have to come out anyway, because the glass goes in first, then the track. So I'm going to put smoke glass in there. But yeah, that's how I'm going to weld that up. And excuse the storm without the rain, but had a front come through with a little bit of rain this morning, and we're already at 75 degrees, and it's just the end of January. Okay, well, down in there is the finished welds. They look a little bit like horse pucky, but you know, they're in place. It's just a pain in the butt to weld in there. Still, I got it better than a seam weld, and it's there, and it's oh, sorry, it feels pretty good across here, so I'm happy with it the way it is. Also, to get in there to blast it with this thing, you put a swivel, put a swivel on it so you can do that kind of stuff with it, and you can really get it down into weird places. And if you've got air tools, put one of those on everything. Just you'll appreciate when you do it. So basically that's all wrapped up of there's nothing left to weld on here except for a little bit at the very back, but I got to deal with that in the valance panel when I decide to permanently get that into place. So yeah, after this, on to the next. Sorry for the smudginess in the previous part of this video. You know, somebody, this could be smudgy too. Well, if it is, sorry. I'm having a hard time keeping that lens clean lately. So, yeah. See you in the next project.